The Rebbe sent emissaries to all Jewish centers in order to open underground yeshivas and chadorim. The teachers faced great danger. Whoever was caught teaching children Torah was arrested immediately and sent for many years to Siberia without any trial. Finding the organizer would have meant his certain death. The Rebbe did all he could with complete self-sacrifice to spread Judaism in all parts of Russia. He recruited 9 Hasidim who took an oath of self-sacrifice until the last drop of blood, should the need arise. The government realized that the only thing hindering their plan to uproot Judaism was the Rebbe Rayatz. They began tightening their hold and threatened to put him behind bars. In 1924, the Rebbe was forced to leave Rostov and settle in the city of Leningrad, today the city of Petersburg. This house on 22 Machavaya Street in Leningrad became the center of the secret activities of the Rebbe throughout the entire Soviet Union. The activities did not stop. With the coming of the Rebbe to Leningrad, they actually increased. The communist government decided to put a stop to the Rebbe's activities. On the eve of the 15th of Sivan, 1927, after midnight, came a powerful knocking on the door of the Rebbe's house. The Soviet secret police break into the house and arrest the Rebbe Rayatz. The Rebbe is taken to the Shpalerka prison not far away.
כאשר באו לעצור את אדמו"ר הריי"צ, היה הרבי נשיא דורנו באיזה מקום עם הרבנית חיה מושקה. כשהם הגיעו לכאן למקום, עלתה הרבנית חיה מושקה לבית, כשראתה שנמצאים פה אנשי הקג"ב, היא אמרה לרבי שעמד פה למטה, היא אמרה לו, שנירסון, יש לנו אורחים בלתי קרואים. ואז מיד הרבי התחיל לפעול, לעשות פעולות להצלתו של כבוד קדושת אדמו"ר הריי"צ. כאן במקום הזה עמדה המכונית של הגפ"ו שלקחה את אדמו"ר הקודם, אדמו"ר הריי"צ, לקחה אותו מפה לכיוון השפלרנה.
This is the route taken by the Rebbe in the early hours of the morning of the 15th of Sivan, from his house to the Shpalerka prison. The very name Shpalerka terrified the residents of Leningrad. Tens of thousands were executed in the cellars of Shpalerka. The verdict was settled in advance. At the end of the interrogation, the interrogator informed the Rebbe, "Within 24 hours, you will be executed by a firing squad." The Rebbe endured terrible torture while in prison. The Rebbe described dramatically all that befell him in the diary which he wrote. tefillin remained with me. The soldier who accompanies me lays his weapon down and looks at me with the look of a tiger. He opens the door, and we walk in a narrow hallway which is lit by small candles. I begin to beg the soldier, and not just ask, but to actually beg him to let me put on tefillin. Incidentally, I tell him it's difficult for me to walk quickly. No, the soldier says, I will not let you put on tefillin, and if you insist, I will put you in solitary confinement. Thus we walk, he in front of me and I in back of him. Seeing that he would not allow me, I decided to put on tefillin as I walk. I put the tefillin on my arm, and I didn't yet manage to put the tefillin on my forehead when he hit me and pushed me towards the iron stairs leading down, and I fell down all the stairs. Thank God I did not break my arms and legs. In great pain and with great effort, I walk up several stairs. I feel that when I fell, the metal clasp of my belt broke, and the metal tore the skin of my stomach. My heart contracts with pain. Soon I'll faint. You will see, the soldier screams at me. When you've lain 3 or 4 days among the mice in complete darkness, in the mire and in the mud, it's impossible to make a house of prayer for Jews in Spalerka. Ignoring the pain, I hold onto the stair railing and heavily walk up, 1 step at a time. Petya, the commander says to one of the prison guards, receive the merchandise and do your job. The man, or rather the animal, by the name of Petya, comes out from one of the cells and approaches me. When he saw me from up close, he spoke to himself. What a wonder they have started to bring here such rags. It goes without saying, a fitting parasite, a Žid with a beard. Go, old man, for an interrogation. Never mind, we'll clean you up really well over here. We'll break your bones one at a time. Why are you so pale? Petya asks. Are you also sick? After the interrogation, you can die. It's very quiet here. No one will disturb you. No one will know anything at home either. The doctor will affix his seal, and it'll be registered in the office, and the record will be destroyed. The body will be thrown into one of the pits below. I cannot say that his words made no impression on me. It's already over 40 hours that no water has touched my mouth. Hours of pain and torture to the body, and above all, torture to the soul. Tefillin! Tefillin! Night. It's announced. Lie down and sleep. I've already prayed the night prayer, and I lie down at my place. A chill ran through our bodies as we heard footsteps nearing our room. A moment later, soldiers open the locks and light up the room. We, the inmates, looked at each other with fear of death. The soldiers looked at me with scorn. You come with us, one of them told me. I saw that my neighbors burst out crying. I went out to the hall. One of the soldiers walked in front of me. 4 others, with swords in their hands, walked behind me. Remove your hat and arrange your clothing so that your tzitzis will not be visible, cried one of my escorts. No, I will not remove my hat. I command you to remove your hat, or your end will be bitter. I will not remove my hat. I want to know if you know who I am. Who are you? The Lubavitcher Rebbe. So what? The Lubavitcher Rebbe is not terrified or affected by intimidation. After intensive effort and activity to release the Rebbe, which included turning to many heads of state all over the world, the government commuted the death penalty which the Rebbe had received to 3 years of exile in the city of Kostroma. On the 3rd of Tammuz, the Rebbe Rayatz was released from prison and sent to exile in the distant city of Kostroma. The intensive activities to obtain his freedom were finally fruitful. And on the 12th of Tammuz, when the Rebbe presented himself to the secret police, he was informed that an order had been received to release him from his place of exile. On the following day, on the 12th and 13th of Tammuz, the Rebbe left Kostroma and went to his home in Leningrad. These days, the 12th and 13th of Tammuz, are celebrated as a holiday of redemption for the Rebbe and for Hasidim. After the release, the Soviets continued to threaten the Rebbe that they would imprison him again. They forced the Rebbe to leave Russia. On the day following Simchas Torah in the year 1927, the Rebbe left Russia and settled in the city of Riga in Latvia. The Soviets figured that with the Rebbe being outside the borders of Russia, the underground activities would diminish. But the Rebbe continued his intensive activities for the sake of Russian Jews. The Rebbe continued to operate the underground in the Soviet Union with full force. He sent emissaries and established chadorim and yeshivas. The central yeshiva was in the city of Vitebsk, where more than 200 students from all over the Soviet Union studied.
כאן מאחוריי בניין בית כנסת חב"ד של העיר ויטבסק. הבית כנסת הזה עמד על תילו עד מלחמת העולם השנייה. במלחמת העולם השנייה הוא נחרב, וככה הוא עומד ולא נגעו בו עד היום הזה.
In 1929, the Rebbe made his historic trip to Eretz Yisrael. His trip lasted about 2 weeks, and during this time he visited the Western Wall, the holy places, and the graves of tzaddikim. From Israel, the Rebbe traveled for the first time to the United States. The Rebbe stayed approximately 10 months in the United States, and there he visited many Jewish communities, met with Jews, and encouraged them to strengthen their observance of Torah and mitzvahs. In 1934, the Rebbe moved to the city of Warsaw in Poland. Two years later, the Rebbe moved to the village of Otvotsk, next to the Tomchei Tzmimim yeshiva, which was situated in that village. With the outbreak of the Second World War on the 1st of September 1939, the Rebbe Rayatz left Otobolsk with the intention of traveling to Riga in Latvia and from there to the United States. But because of the circumstances of the war, the Rebbe was forced to remain in Warsaw for several months. During this time, the city was heavily bombarded by the Germans. Miraculously, the Rebbe was not hurt during this bombardment. Of the days of terror in Warsaw, the Rebbe Rayatz told the following. In the city of Warsaw where we stayed, we were subjected to a torrent of bombs and fire. Thousands of people were buried beneath the ruins of their homes as a result of the bombing. During the war, at the time when the city was bombed, entire buildings collapsed within seconds, and all the inhabitants, among them women, children, and the elderly, were burned and buried alive under the rubble. After the bombing, dead bodies as well as the wounded lay on the ground in frightening disarray. And this is a small part of the bitter fate which befell us during the war in Poland. The 12th of Tishrei 1939 is recorded by me as one of the most difficult days. On that day at 12 noon, we left the house to find shelter in a deep cellar underground. After the mincha prayer at 4 o'clock, the cellar shook from heavy bombing in the nearby streets. Flames covered the streets and large buildings collapsed, burying all those who were in the buildings. When we realized the greatness of the danger and feared that we might not survive, we left the cellar and ran to find shelter in one of the gates of a large house. It's impossible to describe the picture of the burning street and buildings, screams of the miserable ones who were burned, and the great fear, especially of the women, children, and the elderly. The bombing became stronger from moment to moment. A sea of flames surrounded the quarter. Clouds of black smoke covered the face of the sky and blocked the rays of the sun. And thus for several hours we ran from place to place, helpless, trying to find shelter from the bombing. In one of the shelters, several hundred people from different walks of life gathered. Our group, which included myself, my family, and tens of students from Yeshivas Tomchei Tmimim, said Tehillim. Suddenly, a great explosion shook us. This was a bomb which had fallen nearby. At that moment, streams of fire spread around us, and each one of us saw death before his eyes. Spontaneously, a great cry came forth from everyone. Shema Yisroel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Everyone was certain that these were the last moments of his life. Such a cry of Shema Yisrael, which comes from the depth of the heart, from different types of people with different views of life, I had never heard before. And I ask of God that this cry of Shema Yisrael should remain engraved in my memory forever. Miraculously, the Rebbe was saved from the horrors of Warsaw through the intervention of the American government, which recruited the head of German intelligence, the Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, to the rescue campaign. Canaris sent German intelligence officers who took the Rebbe and his family out of burning Warsaw, transferred them to Berlin, and from there escorted them to the Latvian border. In the month of Adar Aleph 1940, the Rebbe went from Riga to Sweden, and from there sailed by boat to the United States. On the 9th of the second month of Adar, the Rebbe arrived in the United States. Upon the Rebbe's arrival in the United States, he proclaimed, "America is no different." He meant to say that also in America it is possible and necessary to lead complete Jewish lives just like in Europe. And indeed, under the leadership of the Rebbe, the United States became the world center for spreading the wellsprings of Hasidus throughout the world. As soon as he arrived in the United States, the Rebbe purchased the building on 770 Eastern Parkway. This building has become the World Chabad Center, from where he spread his great light all over the world. In 1949, the Rebbe established Kfar Chabad for the Hasidim who succeeded in crossing the communist Iron Curtain and arriving in Israel. In the first years, with the direction of the Rebbe, the residents of Kfar Chabad occupied themselves with agriculture and education. The Rebbe even sent a Sefer Torah to the residents of Kfar Chabad. On Shabbos, the 10th of Shvat, 1950, the Rebbe Rayatz passed away. He was laid to rest in the Chabad section of the Montefiore Cemetery.